Welcome, welcome. It's Friday the 9th of May, and don't adjust your sets. Yes, I have a shirt and tie on with a little tin flute, and that's just for Mini Cooper being here. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Rich. How are you?
I am bloody good.
Good.
It's Friday. I'm off to Chester Racecourse with Pete Ward and some clients today. So we are ready. We're going to...
Ready to go.
Ready to go. We're on the train, literally the 9 a.m. train, and we got to get up to Chester. So I'm going to be out of here.
You could have taken the morning off work. Nah, you work too hard.
Mate, this isn't work. I'm in here with you chatting about stocks. This is my hobby.
Very true, very true.
Right, yeah, Monkey Man, who's got a court date? Yeah, there's no horse racing. It's, I'm up on dock. I'm defending, or maybe I'm Mini Cooper's lawyer. Right, let's look at what is coming up on today's show then, people. On Friday, 9th of May, we have got myself and Minnie through until 8:30. Well, no, 8:20. Angeline's coming in. She's going to talk fast markets with the one, the only Luke Cooper here. Then Jack Maguire's doing a switcheroonies, and he's going to come in live from the trade desk. Then... They're so slow on a Friday, they really are. 9 a.m, we've got Elliot Harris coming in to talk about vol and the new Pope. We've got Chris Beecham on trading experiences, and then Isar coming in for the week ahead.
Very nice.
I had the volume turned up on the new music the whole time because it's chill, but with a vibe at the same time.
Right, would you ever dance to this sort of music, Rich? Was that yeah?
Actually, well, let's put it back on. Let's see if it's danceable. What kind of beat has it got? I'm not sure what kind of dance moves you'd be doing to this.
Can we turn it up?
Yeah, let Mini hear it. Mini Cooper hear it here. Yeah, it's not very salsa, is it?
No,
no,
not for me. Not quick enough.
What's your dance moves? I bet you can break dance.
I can do a bit of salsa, to be fair.
Really?
Yeah, LA salsa.
If only there was not a desk in the way, people, we would be in for a treat here. Good morning to all of you monkeys out there. Billy H, Gavin Ackers, Monkey Man in there, Fat Boy Ferg. Is that my nephew? My nephew is Fergus. He's a bit of a fat boy with a PH. Andrew McKelvey, good morning. He says Trump announced good news on tariffs yesterday. No longer having to pay a 25% uplift on the spares for his Rolls-Royce private jet engines. Very good. That's about as good as the trade deal got, I think. We're going to go through that in a minute. Good morning, Maturin. And yes, we have a new Pope, people. It is Pope Leo of short volatility. If you ever in a pub quiz and you cannot remember what number he is, it is, of course, XIV. So if you want to get up on my screen, VIX. I've got this wrong, haven't I? Yeah, no, XIV is the ticker of the daily inverse VIX short-term ETF, right? So XIV. So he is Pope Leo, who is short vol.
Did you work that out this morning? Or was it yesterday?
Yeah, I just saw it. I thought XIV, I remember that. It's because I got burnt in it in 2018.
Ooh.
Bad. Ooh, bad. Right, let's go into some overnight action and check out these tariff deals. Jarvis asking if I've already spilt coffee on my shirt. And haven't put a waistcoat on to cover it. Sounds like that's coming from experience, Jarvis. We've all been there, haven't you? You're at a wedding and you get red wine all down your shirt. We actually had a friend over in Australia. My best mate Lammy was getting married, and there was a lad quite drunk. He was the boyfriend of the bridesmaid.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. The wife's sister.
Yeah.
And he was used to drinking beer, but he wasn't used to drinking wine, and there was no free beer at the table, so he was drinking wine like it was pints of beer, right?
Oh dear.
Anyway, by the end of the speeches, he is tonto. and he knocks over a whole bottle of wine all over the table. It goes everywhere. The wine's on the floor and everything. So they're trying to get the napkins, and they end up putting the napkin in the flame of the candle, and the whole table goes on fire.
Jeez, I thought you were going to say the cake there.
No, he didn't. He didn't fall into the cake, thankfully. Right, we've got lots to go through. Minnie Cooper has been researching IAG, Coinbase, Warner Brothers.
Talk about tariffs, talk about BOE yesterday as well. I haven't got any notes on it, but we'll talk a bit about Rightmove, also reporting this morning. And then on the weekend, we're potentially going to see a deal between the US and China. They're meeting in Geneva. So a lot to talk about.
It's big.
A lot to talk about.
Which one do you want to start on?
Shall we start with the US-UK trade deal?
Okay. The trade framework.
Yeah, I wouldn't say deal because, well, mainly what it was is obviously beforehand the US were implementing tariffs of 25% on UK cars. That has now been reduced to 10%. However,
on the first 100,000
cars, which is what we more or less what we produced last year. So it should be fine. And then there was a reduction, i.e. the removal of aluminium and steel, which was previously 20%.
That's good.
There was, on pharmaceuticals, there was no concrete talk as such, and on the film industry as well, because on the film industry, what it was for any films which were produced outside of the US, Trump wanted to implement 100% tariff.
So I didn't actually see that. So the UK has been carved out for any film production.
No, it's still that he didn't mention it. He didn't talk.
Oh, right,
about
okay.
It.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it still stands at 100% where films are produced anywhere from outside the US.
Yeah, that's one like he feels like he just made it up in the spot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Chatting to Angelina Jolie's father, and they just came up with this thing. Let's stick 100% tariffs on. Right. So I think the important thing is, look, it doesn't have a single legal document attached to it, right?
Agreed, yeah.
Trump's comment was, just about everything has been approved.
But nothing's been signed.
They were racing to get this announcement out, right? He wanted it done before the weekend so he could go into the China trade talks, which is the important thing, right?
Yeah, that's the main thing.
We're
a small player.
Irrelevant. Nice to see one thing is, well, two actually, from our point of view, we didn't just go in there and beg, right? Stop begging it. Is that the thing? Stop.
You're like a beg. Like you're a beg, like a what I call like a brown, like brown nose or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. We didn't go into that. We actually kept the taxes on big tech, which was one thing that we were considering giving up. So that's impressive. And we didn't reduce our standards on the food imports that we're bringing in from the US.
Something with beef where we significantly reduced the tariff, I believe, on that.
Yeah. So we've opened up trade for beef coming in, but the standards that it has to reach are still
high. I saw that,
Because you can't beat a bit of Aberdeen Angus, my friend.
You're right.
Right. Okay, so that's that trade deal. Everything more about this weekend in Switzerland. Trump saying, well, tariffs can't go any higher, so they're going to come down.
So I was reading on Bloomberg this morning how Trump thinks that he is likely to get them down to 60%.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Which is hilarious. Like the market,
I don't know where
if the market cheers that on Monday, I mean, it's just, we may as well walk out.
I don't know where that number's come from, though. The same with the 100% on the films. It's just so random.
But I'm fairly confident it's going to happen because he said, and sometimes Trump speaks, obviously, from his, there's nothing on auto
his head or his heart. Or...
Yeah, could be anywhere. But it can't get any higher. We know it's going down, right? Now, if you say, well, it can't get any higher, so the only way is down. That's different from we know it's going down. So I think perhaps it's already lined up to come down to, you put the rumor out there of 60 and then you take it down to 50.
Because yesterday he said, everyone buy stocks.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing, really. Even for me to remember all these tariffs, we'll try and remember them off the top of my head accurately. It's so hard because they're changing all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's impossible. If we just take a look at what the path of yesterday was, it was quite interesting because we had a nice rally up from the lows at 5,646. Right, that was going into European close. We got up to 5,680 as Europe closed. Just as I was on the paddle court, getting thrashed. Oh my God, we got beat 6 love.
What about your training program in Spain?
Exactly, we still got beat 6 love. Shocker. And we peaked there at 6 p.m. after Trump had said, hey, you got to buy stocks.
And he turned up like an hour late to that conference. I was on YouTube, because I'm on the lines as well, and got YouTube. I was expecting it to come up.
Yeah.
It was just blank. It was blank for ages.
But then reality hit, and everybody realised, well, this is just a load of codswallop. And we dropped from 5,710 down to 5,666. So we're back there. That's where we're trading right now. Are you trading S&P 500? Do you think that we're going to get some kind of Friday rally? Are we going back to 5,700? Or are you waiting to see what comes out the weekend? It would be very surprising if China come into this in a stubborn manner and demand respect.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not Trump in Switzerland. That's one thing.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get something. Market will be disappointed if we don't. Now, I tell you, there are some of you stubborn people out there that haven't subscribed yet. What should those people do, Mini?
100% subscribe. We need, 10 more subscribers to get to 600 for the day.
10 more. There are 10 of you out there that can hit that subscribe button. And before I get on that train to go horse racing, I can be happy in the knowledge we've achieved our target for the week.
Just reading the comments there. What happened with the chlorinated chicken? It was a big talking point on Bloomberg.
Not coronation chicken, chlorinated.
No, I said
chicken.
chlorinated. I did not say coronation chicken. I know what coronation chicken is like.
Right.
It's like cold chicken.
Yeah, well, it's the sauce that goes on it.
Yeah, I know what chlorinated chicken is. It's like unhealthy chicken as such, with like all like additives and things which aren't necessary.
No, spot on. Right, we are. I tell you what. Let's go on to Warner Brothers quickly because we're going to do a poll. Warner Brothers. I had the great pleasure of going to the set of Friends, the TV show Friends.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers Studios in Los Angeles, in California.
Nice.
I would like to put the poll today. Which Friends character does Mini Cooper remind you of the most? Right, there are 4 options, and one of them better not be other. There's 4 options there, and Phil is going to put them down. Which Friends character does the one that only Luke Cooper remind you of? And that is going to be this morning's poll. Right, how were the numbers, sir?
Right, so we've got Warner Brothers. First thing to note is that it's not an all-session stock.
No.
So what that means, you can only trade it during the main session between 2:30 to 9. If you wish to, you can actually call in and you can trade it between 9 in the morning when the pre-market opens till 2:30, and then the post-market, which is from Monday to Thursday, is up until 1 in the morning.
Okay.
So actual numbers in the main session on our platform, you'll be able to see the stock was up 5.26%. They reported in the afternoon. They reported disappointing Q1 sales due to declines in traditional TV subscriptions.
Yeah.
And they're not doing too great in the movie scene at the moment. However, we saw good gains in streaming subscribers.
Let's get the chart up there and see what they've been like over the past 2 years.
I was going to say quickly on Warner Brothers, it would be interesting because I know that they do make numerous films abroad, so they therefore could potentially be impacted by this 100% tariff.
That won't go ahead.
Yeah.
Right, let's see then so the stock up 5%, decent.
Yeah.
Decent. Not one I would touch. even if you gave me your money, I wouldn't touch this thing.
What makes you say that?
Because it's, if you look at the performance, right, consider the rally that we've had over the past 2 years, up 25%, up 26%.
True.
And this thing just looks like Vodafone.
Your favourite stock?
Not anymore. Oh. Right, $16 down to 8. I mean, you know, unless it gets bid for, unless it gets taken over, then the exact reason that you said numbers disappointed, there's still cable television.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Which Friends character do we think? Many remind. Oh, for goodness sake, Phil, you are getting banned from taking this poll.
Yeah. I like
Ridiculous.
Monica. I like Monica.
I hadn't thought about it in those terms. You like Monica?
Yeah.
Do you think she represents your cleanliness?
I'll be honest, I'm not like, I'm only a clean freak in my bedroom, not like the rest of the house sort of thing.
Right.
So I'd say no based on that.
Okay. It's an interesting result. So Phoebe and Monica are the equal winners with only time will tell, 21%. Honestly, how do I get
Only
that?
time will tell.
Please? Yeah, it's Phil's. Right, let's go on. On to serious things. On to serious matters. IAG.
Yeah.
Are they going to take off or are they coming into land?
So we got IAG. Interestingly, yesterday, IAG announced they were going to purchase Boeing planes, which is, of course, good for the US and Trump. So the numbers on IAG, main figure this morning was the revenue. So for Q1, it beat average analyst estimate. Revenue was 7.04 billion euros instead of the 6.8 billion euros, which was estimated.
Okay.
And obviously there I just mentioned how IAG was poised to buy planes off Boeing. That number was 30.
30 planes.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Correct. I think with IAG it's interesting because generally speaking for airlines, the first quarter of the month is the most difficult because, you know, it's just after Christmas.
Yeah,
People don't go away as much in Jan, Feb, March. But with IAG, I was reading how recently business class cabins, because as an example, IAG own British Airways, I think it's Iberian Air.
One of the small ones, yeah.
Iberia, Aer Lingus, and, excuse my accent, Vueling.
Yeah.
Vueling. Is that how I say it?
Well, it's Austrian, isn't it? So it's probably with a W. Wuling.
Vueling.
Wuling. Right, let's hear what Numis have got to say then. So our partners across at Numis are saying about as solid an update as one could have hoped for from IAG. No major surprises other than Q1 EBIT was nicely ahead. The net debt was lower and a chunky aircraft order that many mentioned there. At 290 pennies, IAG trades on 5.8 times PE.
And IAG have done very well since COVID, but they haven't recovered from what they were pre-COVID. So if you look at the price chart, we've noticed that since the pandemic, IAG, Vueling is Spanish.
Oh, is it? Oh, my apologies. I was thinking it was Austrian. What's the Austrian airline I'm thinking of then? Apart from Austrian Airlines, yeah, Terence, very quick on that one.
Back to IAG.
Right, look at this, the meteoric rise it had up to £3.60. That's when JP Morgan put a £5 target on it that got it up there, and then of course worries about the recession dropped back.
Yeah, because with airlines as well, you could argue that it's quite cyclical. So, you know, obviously it's dependent upon the economy, and if we do potentially go into a global recession, which is potentially on the cards, then you could argue that IAG may lose out from that.
What's your percentage chance of a global recession?
Well, I mean, I'd say it depends on what Trump says, but at this current moment in time, I'd say 35-40%.
Okay.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Decent. I would... No, that's a good number.
Yeah, around that.
I'd be tempted. Well, okay, I think we'll go into a US recession. global's different, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got big numbers in China, etc.
Yeah.
I think we go into a US recession, but I don't think necessarily the market is down like a 35%. I think the market goes down 15% from here.
Yeah, 35% to go down would be a lot. Like S&P the other day got down to just above 4,800.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is still like a big, bit serious drop.
But only time will tell, Monkey Man. That's absolutely right. Little Wabbit joining us. It's 7:50 a.m. Little Wabbit. What time do you call this?
Lil Wabbit.
Right, so 5.8 times. Look at the chart there. We're at currently 288. You know, I haven't seen a pre-market indication yet, but we'll get one for you shortly. And then, should we touch on Rightmove?
Yeah, so I haven't got numbers on it, but they issued a trading statement today.
Yeah, guidance remains unchanged, reiterating expectations of an 8 to 10% revenue growth in 2025.
Nice.
Numis retain a buy and an 815 free cash flow based target. Though note that Auto Trader continues to trade at a discount to Rightmove at 4.4%, which we feel is unjustified. Hence, they prefer the Auto Trader
I
stock.
think with Rightmove, they are very dominant in their sector. Apart from Rightmove, the only other online property search company I can think of really is Zoopla.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'd straight to Rightmove, actually.
straight to Rightmove.
I think that's how I found my apartment, to be honest. Matthew Stevik. What a great name, Matthew M. Stevik.
Hello from New Jersey.
New Jersey. Someone's up early, aren't they? Hey, or just getting in from the night before. Good morning there. Welcome to our American friends. Thank you for the trade deal. We are very happy with that. Eric Jones, another one from stateside. Auto Trader, is that like Auto Pen? Auto Trader, is that where you got your first car?
Yeah, correct.
That's where I got my first car.
My Ford Fiesta. My one and only car I've ever had, because I don't have a car at the moment.
So Auto Trader, I'm not sure what the US equivalent would be. It used to be a paper magazine. Oh, those are the days. And most of my friends would buy this magazine anyway just to look at the cars.
Oh, okay.
And but it's to find the car. So second-hand car trading. Now it's all, of course, all online.
Yep.
Money never sleeps, Matthew. That is absolutely right. Now, if you are new, then please get that subscription in. Let's see what we are on. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, people. And the update is, drum roll, none of you have subscribed.
Oh, well, they must be all subscribed already then.
Yeah, well, it's not. We thank you for already subscribing. But do give us a thumbs up on the YouTube here. Now, we're moving on. We had a comment there on Hood, Robin Hood, not where you are from. Robin Hood up 8% yesterday. What about Coinbase?
Yeah, so Coinbase, they reported last night. So I've got some numbers on that for you. So obviously Coinbase is an all-session stock. So in the main session and the post-session, Coinbase were up 2.26% yesterday. Revenue increased 24% to $2 billion from the same period in Q1 a year ago. However, net income fell. Coinbase had its second highest monthly transacting users in the quarter. Also, interestingly, yesterday, they agreed to acquire Deribit, the world's largest exchange for Bitcoin and options.
I've got some money in that.
Yeah. Big moves. I think in the crypto space, it's going to be very, very competitive. And exchanges such as Coinbase, Binance, Kraken do need to try and diversify, particularly as we see some of the main players actually get in the crypto space, as Trump's obviously deregulating the industry.
I know Pete Ward likes this one, but he's not going to like that move at when numbers came out. So yeah, down about 4%. Is that right?
But you'll see from the top there, which I made note this morning, overall, it was up 2.26% at the top in blue.
Yeah, from the previous night's close,
Correct.
but on numbers themselves.
Correct, yeah, down.
Lower. Monkey Man asking what is going on there in the Bitcoin dog. It has had a great 36 hours. Ever since I had my dream that this thing's gone to 150,000, it's only gone one way. So we that is a 3-day chart, and I gotta say that's looking nice.
Yeah.
That's looking nice. Just watch it be down 10% over the weekend now. Remember, if you're trading Bitcoin, do me a favor, don't trade it on leverage. That can get you into some real nasty trouble.
I was going to say we don't have a specific time date. However, we are looking at introducing physical crypto very, very soon. So we can say that live on air, where you actually own the underlying. Because at the moment, just professional clients can trade. But you're obviously trading on derivatives, so you don't own the underlying. Whereas here, you actually own the physical cryptocurrency.
Right. So that'll be an interesting one to watch over the weekend. Actually, I might even keep my eye on that over at the races, because that's right. I am off to Chester races, Poppy. Spot on. RK asking what's with the suit. RK, give us some more, because I used to work with an RK, Roy Cashy, at the hedge fund. He was great on the technical analysis. And Poppy's saying big stories about a short position just taken out, just under 100. As in, do you mean that somebody has put on a short position at 100, or they've been taken out?
90
I'm sure Poppy will update us after during the break, because we'll be back in 2 minutes, and we've got Luke Cooper opening the bell with the opening bell for the London Stock Exchange.
That's the first time you call me Luke Cooper in a very, very, very long time. It's only Mini Cooper. What's happened?
Mini Cooper, Padwan, Junior, Gary Stevenson.
Among many others you can't say on air.
That's right. Okay, so Poppy's saying, yeah, there was a bunch of shorts just below 100, and of course they have been stopped and gone through. So Jugger, 20 times on MicroStrategy. Is that your, you've been in it from 50, 60 bucks, that would be, would it? 50 bucks, 20 times? No, 20 bucks. Right, quick to the break, and then we'll come back for Matthew Stevick's last name German. See you in 2. Sorry, Jugger, I got mixed up there. When you said 20x, I was hoping you had made 20 times your money, but you were talking about the availability of leverage. Gotcha. Right, so we've got, 10 seconds to the bell. Mini Cooper, are you ready to open the London Stock Exchange and European bourses for Friday? He's gone early. He's gone early. Right, so there we go. We are off and running as they are going to be at the horses. Shall we do it like horse racing? Right, let's go. For the rest of this segment, we're going to take, and it's Barclays in the lead here, up 70 basis points at £3.07 Persimmon hot on the heels, up 10. BP up 1.6.
Wizz Air Holdings up 0.43%.
Oil's had a decent move. That's why BP are stronger. Let's update this now, see if the rest of the stocks are open. GSK up 1.2. You're happy there?
Got Rolls-Royce up 0.73%. Got Shell up 0.72%.
So Andrew McKelvey, right, Rolls-Royce are benefiting from that trade deal announced yesterday, yet again, up 50 basis points.
We got another UK bank up, NatWest up 0.37%.
Do we have IAG open yet? That's the question that the producer is going to check for us.
Vodafone's up. You like that, up 0.2%.
Oh, you've missed it. We're short Vodafone now. The CFO left. Cheated us all, promised us, and then disappeared. Next down 1.5. So that's just given up some of the gains from post numbers. BT, there was a short recommendation or a sell recommendation from Deutsche Bank a couple of days ago. That's why it was down 3%, but it has steadied up there.
I wonder if there's anything on Rightmove.
Do you want me to have a look there?
Have a look.
Right. Oh dear.
Yeah, Rightmove and IAG with her.
Well, yeah. Let's go to IAG. We've got Rightmove up 70 basis points, but let's have a look at IAG up 80 basis points. So nothing overly exciting there, unfortunately, for us. But let's keep an eye on this for a minute. Do you think IAG can get back to £3?
I think it depends. Like I said before, with these stocks, they tend to be cyclical.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think I mentioned before as well how after the pandemic, there's been, and particularly as of late, there's been more, I'd say, like business class flights, which are often paid by companies and firms. So there's more travel, and I believe profit margins are much greater than on business class than they are on economy.
When you fly to Magaluf, then what plane do you take?
I've never been Magaluf.
Whatever.
But who do I go with? Like Ryanair, EasyJet, just the standard ones within Europe.
Is this Genghis Khan? Where can you get an IG coffee mug? I'll tell you. Since you were the first to ask, it's on its way to you. Drop me an email at richard.mcdonald@ig.com. Seeing as you asked politely, I will send one to you. Yeah, we'll get that out to you. So, famous Poppy saying famous last words, but short BP is a mugs trade. I see what he's done there. Sorry, Poppy.
Very good.
There's IAG coming off now, so that's it down at 290. Somebody taking a little bit of profit. There's not much interest in it getting marked up. Maybe somebody was expecting better. Mango is back. Welcome back, Mango. Long time no see. You've been sitting in the background there. IAG now down on the day. Somebody, I tell you what.
Interesting.
That somebody has just got cuffed in those at a bank. What happens is we all sit there in the trading desk, see the stocks open, and then a hedge fund has blatantly come in, or a long fund, and said, "Where can I sell you 1 million British Airways?" And they've been hammered. And then look, because that stock, that looks like a risk deal's just been done. And then you're left sitting holding 940,000 IAG at completely the wrong price as they go down for the rest of the day. Right, so we'll take a look at Commodity World Mini Cooper. What are you seeing there?
So we have got US crude up 0.75%, the exact same with Brent crude as well. We've got spot gold up 0.67%, spot silver up 0.22%, and we've got nat gas up 1.71%.
Cool. Copper's a bit rubbish this morning. Hadn't seen that, to be honest. So high-grade copper down 1.8. Let's have a look at the effect that is having on the mining stocks.
You love your mining stocks, don't you, Rich?
That's my bread and butter, sir. Right, Antofagasta should not be unchanged on the day if copper is down 1.8%. What is going on there? I'm just having a look to see if they came down yesterday for any reason. No, so they're unchanged since Wednesday. And then let's have a look at copper. I swear copper's lower than Wednesday. Yeah, it's much lower. Okay, Antofagasta's at the wrong price, I would think. I haven't been following it close enough. And also Glencore, the miners are up on the day with copper down 1.6. That doesn't look right to me. I'm going to have to.
What are you thinking, Rich?
Right, I'm going to sell some Antos. Right, so selling 700 at 1717. Let's see how that does. Yeah, exactly. Where's the stop? Thank you, Axel. So we are going to put a stop on that of 1735. So quite a tight stop, but I think we'll buy those back for 1693. Those are great, aren't they? Right, a quick roundup of what we're seeing then. The FTSE 100 is up 32 basis points. That is why the mining stocks are unchanged. Is that new highs on the DAX yet again?
23,490. I mean, can we have a look at the price chart on the DAX?
Let's do that. Your wish is my command, sir.
Let's have a look. Right, let's play a little guessing game. How many clients do you think are long on the DAX?
Do you know what? I think it'll be a net short.
You reckon?
I think so.
All right. Go on, you go first, Rich. You go first.
So what will the answer? The answer will be in percent or?
Yeah, in percent.
Yeah, that is new highs for the DAX. Wow. I'm scared to. Yeah, I wouldn't. It looks like it's going higher from there.
I will go then, I think 63% long maybe.
63% long. I will go. So that means that 37 are short.
Correct.
I will go for
Offended.
44% long, 56% short.
Okay.
Where do we find that? Client sentiment.
Yep.
Oh, he's nailed it. Gosh.
Fair play.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves as clients. You see something like that and you think, oh, that's gone far enough. Whoa, I'm going to sell some of that. It feels like Axel's with us this morning, doesn't it? That is so strong. Absolutely remarkable. And that's with Mertz losing power from the did you see that?
I didn't see that.
He didn't get the required votes from what was basically just an automatic for him to become chancellor, and they had to go back and do it a second time, but a little bit like basically a protest vote, right? Which just gave him a little bit of a shot across the bow. Just be careful, you've got a shallow majority there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's right, Matthew, our new best friend from stateside there. German market is the new S&P. It really does feel like it. And there are so little number of stocks to get into
Yeah.
that if you want to take out, 2% of your allocation to US and dollar for dollar put it into Germany, you're moving the DAX.
And a lot of people were doing that at the start of the year. They were moving from the US equities to the German ones.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric, spot on. To round it up, mean reversion traders are getting hurt. And that's me, to be honest. I am short a load of the S&P 500 calls at this level. Here's my book here. The one great thing is that weekends are fantastic because, man, I am getting a load of theta in. So I'm short puts all the way down to, well, where's my, yeah, basically 5,000. So I'm short a load of puts below 5,000. Then I'm long some puts at 54.50. But then I'm short calls 5,500, 5,550, 5,600, and it carries on. 6,000, 6,100, and 6,350. And they are for September, December, June. Still short a little bit of Vodafone, long a bit of S&P, and then, but just in case we get a really friendly China deal, I have bought some calls for Monday expiry. So that, oh, sorry, get rid of that one. Yeah, 57.50 calls for Monday, but short the 5,830s against them. Mini Cooper, it's 8:11. My train leaves in 48 minutes from a station far across London, so I am going to have to love you and leave you.
You're going to run?
We just had a great little salsa dance.
Although we do different types of salsa. He did Cuban and I did LA.
And also, you tried to lead when
I wanted to lead.
4 inches taller than you.
4 inches, yeah. In Air Max is 4 inches tall.
Right, everybody, I am running. Thank you very much. Genghis Khan. I never thought I'd say that on here. Genghis Khan, send me your address and we'll get this IG mug to you. Thank you very much. Enjoy the races. And I am not drinking any alcohol, so I'm going to have to put up with Pete Ward for a whole day, including 5 hours on a train there and back.
You bought your headache tablets?
I'd go and get some ibuprofen. Have a wonderful weekend. Angeline will be with you. Good luck this afternoon. Good luck in Switzerland to Bessent's there, isn't he?
Yep.
And the Vice President. And let's hope for a little bit of calm on Monday following that. But not too much calm because I don't want the market to go any higher.
I love this jingle. Welcome back, trader friends. Happy Friday to you. It's Luke Cooper and myself on Fast Markets. Let's have a look at the board first. We've got pretty much a risk on there, except for maybe a few, the Wall Street and US Russell just tipping slightly into the red, but clearly, quite an exciting late session again yesterday. Let's have a look at some of the individual movers here whilst we've got my watch list up for you. That is the FTSE. Mini Cooper?
I can just about see that. So we've got Airtel Africa up 2.72%. We've got JD Sports up 2.22%. BP up 1.71%. What else? We've got Shell up 1.06%.
Yeah, they're coming back up now. Shell is coming back up after earlier in the week on that report on Shell looking at BP. I guess we also look at the losers as well, given we had that deal that came through. Devil in the detail, though, the US-UK deal. 2 concessions. The UK is still looking out for 2 concessions, apparently, in order to finalize this deal. Negotiators coming back in the coming week to rubber stamp.
Although nothing's finalised at all.
I know, right?
It's crazy. So it was not like, obviously it's a deal, but it's not like a deal because nothing's done.
Yeah. Were you like me yesterday when the news came through and kind of looked for the finer granular details?
Yeah, so it was sort of difficult for me to watch because I have to be on queue for calls coming in. And of course, with the volatility, we are quite busy. But I read an overview and yeah, it wasn't really like a deal as such. Obviously, the main things were the reduction in cars. So that was from 25% to 10%, with a max of 100,000 cars a year, and then the removal on aluminium and steel. But then a lot of things were missed out. So I'd argue it wasn't really too comprehensive.
Yeah, exactly. And it still leaves that 10% tariffs on British exports in place.
Yes, yeah.
It felt like, in Parliament, they had all this questioning about whether or not UK farmers are going to get, shafted because if they open the floodgates to all this agricultural products, there wasn't an affirmative, never, or this is how it's going to work.
Exactly.
It's just Keir Starmer just saying, we're going to protect the interests.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Quite murky there. So taking a look at the board here, BA Systems, of course, that was that Trump talking about Boeing and also
Which he'd be happy with.
Yes,
very happy with.
Obviously, we know.
I know Boeing suffered a lot from Trump implementing these tariffs, as not just the UK, but I think I can't remember who the other nations were saying that they weren't going to buy any Boeing planes, and Boeing did suffer a lot from that.
Yeah, and so taking a look at the losers there, BA Systems down more than 1%. British American Tobacco down almost 1% as well. And also we're taking a look at Intercontinental, which had numbers out.
Where's IAG at the moment, out of interest?
IAG, yes, let's have a look at IAG because Andrew McKelvey, morning to you. Let's have a look at that, punching that up. And I loved, there was a very good pronunciation earlier this morning. It's Vueling.
Say that again, please.
Vueling.
Vueling.
Yes.
Vueling. And
yes.
It's Spanish, apparently.
Well, and obviously it's got, that very soft V. I mean, that's how I've heard it being.
Because Richard was Austrian.
Well, having a look at this, I mean, maybe it's because it flies a lot over there. We are seeing IAG up slightly, ever so slightly. Those of you trading this space, Andrew McKelvey, you and I were talking about EasyJet, Ryanair this morning. EasyJet, those of you that had some on this morning, it turned. Ryanair, I think, as I was stuck in Aldgate E Station, I was trying to check on this. For those of you that don't know, you almost had Mini Cooper solo this morning because I had faulty doors.
Phil would have joined me, right?
Yeah, come on, Phil! Yeah, I was chucked off a train. I was listening to all of you and still able to message and call Phil to say, I've been chucked off the train, guys. But I was still able to check on Ryanair here and also, look, Ryanair is still in flight, people. Still heading higher. So for those of you that I hope, Andrew McKelvey, you've got Ryanair on after those IAG results, because they tend to, you heard me talk about herd a lot here, UK house builders, banks, the likes of airlines, they tend to move in a herd. And
Correct,
sometimes, especially with IAG, you find that the bigger move is in Ryanair. Talking about tariffs as well, we've got this coming weekend meeting between the US and China.
Yeah.
Yet again, which side of the camp are you on? Do you think some good news is going to come out of that, or pretty much nothing at all?
Well, we'll see. Trump's thinking that he's going to get tariffs down to 60%. But even if he does, I'd argue for the US that wouldn't be such a good thing, because 60% tariff still on everything is still a really, really significant amount. So I'd argue it's not too beneficial for the US. And me and Rich were saying earlier how, well, I personally think globally, there's like a 35-40% chance for recession, but more so in the US because of this.
Yeah. And I think what's even more fascinating, until we hear the fat lady saying, as they say, until we get some sort of detail from what's happening from US, between the US and China, because they are the elephants in the room, right?
Yeah.
If they can't cut a deal, everyone is in total... doo-doo.
And then yesterday we saw the BOE cut rates by 25 bips down to 4.25%.
As expected.
As expected, yeah. And Bailey was saying how basically there is worry, with the tariffs in the US. And that's part of the reason why they've cut rates, as expected, of course. But they're also saying how, well, the inflation number was good for March, how in the short term, what I mean by short term is the next 3 or 4 months, they're worried about energy prices going up, so that there may be some more inflation to come. However, in the longer term, they expect it to come down a bit, because of course the government target is 2% for CPI, 2% plus minus 1%.
Do you know what I find more fascinating about Bailey's comments yesterday? Because after the expected rate cut, we did a poll here as well, and most people voted, or the poll on Trade Live with IG for that expected cut. However, what was more interesting was the fact that he said having a more open economy with the EU, so that Britain trades more with the EU, would be beneficial.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's come out and said this, especially now that we've come to a post-Brexit, post landscape now, to start having this sort of music. I was at a party yesterday, very exciting when you're at a party filled with people from either the Bank of England or HSBC, and it wasn't a big one. It's just like catch half a pint or a pint and then head off. And the conversation was like, would it be strange if reform did continue, making headways?
Yeah.
And then Farage then starts making sounds like maybe it'd be a good thing if we were pals with Europe again. Wouldn't that be ironic?
Changes his mind like the wind blows.
Would that be ironic? So this is a really interesting thing, because Bailey normally keeps his card close to his chest, normally doesn't delve into politics, because central bankers are not supposed to. But he did say having a more open UK economy to trade with the EU would be beneficial. Of course, the EU is still our biggest trading partner. Just taking us through some of the chats on the board. Mini Cooper, read them out whilst I get Germany 40 watch list set up.
So from Steve Davies, we've got, it's just come off the comments on my side.
Oh.
Filtronic has earlier this week announced it would beat market expectations for financial year 25 and 26. I've never seen this bullishness before. Has anyone?
Let's have a look at Filtronic.
Let us know in the comments, people.
Filtronic, let's have a look there. Filtronic. This is not one I normally trade, but let's have a look at the chart for you. And this is why. I'll tell you why I don't normally trade this. Here we are, Filtronic. Is this the 1 minute? Let's have a look at the daily. There we are. That's a bit better there. And we have seen this gap up recently. So it is bullish in a very short-term basis. 4 green candles. They're very strong, it has to be said. And the one on Thursday, seeing a bullish, is that Marabuza there? My eyesight's not brilliant, but it is a very, very bullish marker. Bullish or bearish Marabuza often heralds a continuation of that trend, and in this case it'd be up. Steve, was it Steve? I'm just putting up my YouTube chat there. Steve Davis. I would say that this is a very bullish chart there. I'm going to put up the volume as well, just to make sure that there is no weirdness indicated, no strange signals on the volume front. Be aware though that this big spike, that this big rise is coming, especially today as well, in a decreasing volume landscape, and this could mean a false breakout here. It has though broken out above the highs since beginning of March, and also you know, closed above or moved above the level seen in at the end of March. But as I said, look down at the volume here, and this is a red flag for me. If this were an increasing volume, Mini Cooper, or we saw it all like this green bar here, and we see this, you know, ascending formation there, then that would be an even bigger move there. Right, let's move on to some of the other movers. I'm hearing Phil say, okay, so let's have a look at Germany now very quickly. Adding that to workspace there. Right, Siemens Energy, one of the biggest gainers there. Any of those you like, Mini Cooper?
I like Mercedes-Benz. That's up 1.67%. We've got Adidas as well, I like Adidas, which is up 0.81%.
Do you own Adidas? Do you like Adidas?
I do own Adidas, yeah.
I am more
Adidas.
I'm more a Nike, soon to try Hoka sort of person. I've never had a pair of Hokas, but Rich is telling me that it's great for running and you get this extra bounce. I'm going to try after he's been talking at me about Deckers for such a long time. Let's have a look. We've also got Infineon up 1.5% there. Continental up 1% there. And Rheinmetall also up a healthy almost 1%.
We've got Volkswagen up as well, 1.14%.
All the cars, interestingly enough, trader friends, all the cars with big exposure to the Chinese market. So the Chinese love their Benzi, which is what they call Mercedes-Benz. They love their Volkswagens as well, and those are heading higher. Really quick, there you go, Allianz and Munich Re, they're down on the loser board. Right, we have to go, unfortunately, but like and subscribe, because we have plenty of exciting material coming up next. We've got, you know, number of the week, we've got trading view, we've got how to use different tools on the IG platform. Plus, you can get all the options beginners guides on the YouTube channel as well. And so if you want to aid us into getting a new bell, which do you think we should have? That bell or a press electronic bell? You know, the one we hit.
I like the traditional bell.
You like your traditional man.
Also, we need to get to 600 subscribers by the end of the day.
Nice. Yeah, we need to get to 600. That's right, at the end of the day. So like and subscribe. Stay right where you are. Go and get your coffee, but keep listening, because we'll be right back on the volatility desk with Jack McGuire. Stay right there. Hey, welcome back to the show. We're live from the trade desk with Jack. Hey, Jack, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Ange.
Hey, how's it
going?
been? Yeah, really good, really good. Happy to, get to Friday in a time when we are looking at this bounce here. I mean, I'm hoping that this bounce will carry us through to the end of play today here in Europe, and hoping the bounce will carry through with optimism into the US Open as well. You tell me, you're the volatility guru.
I mean, I hope the bounce continues. I'm on the same side as you here, but we'll just wait and see what happens. I think there's a few of us on my desk, at least, that think you get to 8:30, so half an hour left of the US session, and a reversal just seems like it's going to happen every single time. Let's hope it doesn't happen today, and it's just a consistent move and no shocks.
Yeah.
No tweets.
No tweets. And then do you normally find that there's another rejig at around, I always find that there's either a build up or a drop off at around that 1 hour to the US Open?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you see a lot of our activities surrounded around there, and it's because you get a lot of moves. So yeah, I think you'll generally get that, and then the move from the US Open generally starts to continue. We'll just see what we get today. You can never predict it. That's why it's fun.
Yeah, and that's why we are in this game. So trader friends, those of you that trade the US indices, make sure you pay attention closely to when we tend to see like these big moves. So strangely, in the last week, we've been seeing it very, very close to like 1 hour to the open. And as Jack said again, 8:30 is the other mark. And also the power hour recently has been very interesting. So just be aware. If you like volatility, that's where you head to. If you hate volatility, stay clear of those moments. Right. Should we start off with the euro, because it's been fascinating as well. Euro, of course, this is a cross as well. Every currency is a cross, and it's been going great guns, but also the dollar has been weaker. But I want to know your thoughts on this. I have a thesis, Jack. Do you want to hear it? You can say it's absolutely rubbish. You can say that's bollocks, and
I'll wait to hear it first.
My thesis is that, we've seen the stronger euro versus the dollar, but as we have to, right, at some point see these deals come through, whether they are actual deals or not, it's like about, the drama, the theater. And prior to this, we saw investors and traders seeking safety. So they went to the euro, went to the yen, right, the safe havens. But as we see these deals start being made, and my prediction is, we'll start to see a sort of momentum going, right? Obviously, the big one is between the US and China. That's the one that everyone's waiting for. Yeah. Then we're going to see an unwinding of this trade, and then perhaps we see this depreciation or weakening, right, of that euro dollar trade. What do you think?
I think, yeah, you'd like to think that more trade deals come through. It sort of brings back the stability that the dollar has always been, and gives it that safe haven title again. So I'd expect you get a bounce off that. I think there's other factors that have probably got to be considered there as well. So it looks like we had the Fed the other day. Looks like they're going to be staying high, so that should work in the dollar favor as well. As for the retracement, I'm not too sure what's going to happen, because you'd think a strengthening dollar, this tariff policy is probably going to help the dollar overall, but I still think there's some negative sentiment around it, and I don't know about you, but I don't think I'm too optimistic about some of the trade deals. At least it sounds like the US-China one is, there's been conversation obviously between Trump and China, but it looks like they're all waiting for the first person to move. I think these talks on Saturday are going to be a big indication about what's going to happen. But it looks like even at that talk, they're still in a bit of a standoff. They don't look like they're coming to an agreement anytime soon. And it's the same for the EU, who've come out multiple times and said they're not going the way we wanted, or they're not progressing as fast as we thought. And when they've got a 90-day window to do these, puts the pressure on. Obviously, it's a very Trump tactic to give them a deadline. So we'll see what happens in the last sort of weeks of that. But yeah, I think it could be an interesting trade, the reversal, as people react to the first news and then again think the US isn't actually as stable as it might proclaim it is after those deals.
Yeah. And that's a really, good point that you're making there, because, I've been watching specs in terms of the euro-dollar trade. And at the beginning of this year, we had some 9 billion in terms of bets on the spec side that we were going to have a stronger euro versus the dollar. But now there are increasing bets. I think the last time I checked that figure was like 11 billion, that towards the end of this year, the euro was going to be weaker against the dollar. So just bear that in mind when you're, trading these crosses, because, it's important to understand what the spec market is doing, what the change in psychology is happening in the background, and also obviously with the dollar in mind as well, because if we're continually seeing this weak dollar picture like Jack was talking about earlier on, could it possibly be that the weaker dollar will outweigh that weakening euro picture if we get that, if the spec market is correct? So that is a quick look at, do you want to look at the options? Shall I whack that up for you, Jack?
Yeah, there was another point actually on euro dollar while we're talking about it. I was reading an article the other day and it's quite interesting. There's a lot of European companies and European CEOs sort of sounding alarm bells about this strengthening euro against the dollar and saying that it might actually start to impact performance of these companies, and obviously it puts them in an unfavorable situation when the euro becomes so strong. But I just wanted to, it seemed like a few big investment houses and funds were starting to take this into account and sort of avoid the area. I don't know if you've seen anything similar when you've been reading stuff, or what your opinion on it.
There have been quite a few notes that have said, watch out as well for the fact that we are going to see potentially, just like the Bank of England, right? European Central Bank and the Swiss National Bank are going to look to cut rates again in the coming month, in June. So this is all back to the same thing again. Concerns about tariffs hitting their economies. We've already seen the Bank of England say that they're going to maintain a gradual and careful approach to further rate reductions. But a blow to Doves, hoping that Bank of England would signal faster cuts. I'm sure that there was a lot of disappointment out there as well for those, but that quarter point cut was baked in. But what was also key is that it's not going to be a surprise if the ECB and others follow suit if we don't see a quick reversal of this tariff situation. Interestingly enough, for those of you trading cable, let's have a look at where we are right now. Here we are. If you are trading cable, it's also worthwhile noting that 5 of the MPC members, there are 9 of course, but 5 of them are speaking early next week. And this includes the 2 Doves, Alan Taylor and Hawk Hugh Pill as well. And Taylor was one of the 2 that wanted the Bank of England to cut rates by 50 basis points this week. So the likes of you, Issa, if you are listening out there, because I know Issa is coming up to his refinancing wall soon. My next refinancing wall is in summer 2026. So this is all interesting stuff because there were 2 members that wanted a deeper cut. So keep that in mind if you're trading a cable there. There could be some interesting comments out next week from Hugh Pill and Alan Taylor. Jack, any more on euro dollar, or do you want to look at the the options side of things?
Just while we're there, we can touch on the options. I was noticing it the other day. It's been fairly similar throughout the year, but just having a look at it the other day with it coming into focus. The skew on it is definitely top side heavy. So
shall we
just
pull up
going
the
forward,
weekly or the daily
the best
first?
one might be the June actually.
Okay, here we are.
It's less pronounced than some of the shorter terms, but the June's a very reliable contract, these quarterlies. You can see that volatility on the downside decreasing, and then on the upside, so the sort of second half of the chain there, you can see it's going up. So it's actually anticipating a move higher in euro dollar, and this is the June outlook, and it's the same for SEP. So got a little bit of time going forward there, where we're still expecting appreciation in the euro against the dollar.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I'm just curious because, for someone who's relatively new to the option space, when we go out and we look further out, I'm always curious, whether there's a rhyme or reason, or when the gray bars start to fill out. See where my cursor is?
The in the money options they're much less liquid in a market, basically.
Right.
Everyone, most of the trades is on the out of the money stuff, at the money stuff, and then when you're trading them sort of on the back end, so if we're trading these with a bank or even with index options, if you're trading them on an exchange, there's a lot less liquidity involved in the money stuff, and especially with some of the index options, you can get assigned on them quite easily. So yeah, it's less of a priority on our side. We'll have them on the back end, and once we see a significant move, we'll obviously start to shift it so that you've still got those options around the money. But yeah, as you get higher delta, they're a bit less favorable and a lot less easy to trade, basically.
Right, trader friends, any of you with any questions on euro dollar or cable, please put them here, or any volatility questions. This is your moment. Jack is the guru behind the vol side of things. Quite often he sees me marching over with yet another Ange question, and then we do lots of back testing here, which is actually really fun. Normally on a Friday, actually, and I try and drag him to the pub, but then he's very good and says, no, I have to stay sober, which is great.
You're coming on the wrong day.
It doesn't stop me from trying. Right, so let's talk about, you wanted to ask me about European equities, and you had a question there, Jack.
Yeah, it was just something I read about the euro dollar situation, basically. Is it strengthening euro? How is that impacting European equities? It's probably more of a long-term discussion. I think a few sort of much midterm, longer term investment houses have been talking about it and saying they might try and avoid it going forward. But I don't know if you're seeing that at all in the short term. I
have. And actually, let's whack up the Germany 40 there. I know many of you trade the DAX, and that chatter really is surrounding an unwinding of a thesis. So in a very simple way of explaining this, remember we had Trump coming into office, and then we had this almost like repatriation of capital from the US to Europe. And we saw a lot of this flow into the likes of the FTSE 100 and the DAX as well. So that's why you saw that big move up there. Not forgetting as well that Germany did say it was going to loosen its coffers, right? Jack, remember that?
Yeah.
To boost its economy. And then we saw, also the defense phase as the Europeans realized that actually, boy, Trump is waving that stick at us. We might have to boost our own capabilities because, the Americans might not be standing behind us as we thought they were. So it was all that uncertainty. Now what could be happening is that we are seeing one of two things. The trade on a fundamental side, all that's really baked in now. And we had that great big shakeout, with all financial instruments, right? And we're now starting to look toppy again, especially on the DAX. So I have had loads of trader friends. Thank you for emailing and messaging me asking, and what should I do now? We're seeing the Germany 40, the DAX heading to levels last seen 20th of March. And what we technicians like to say is that it's always slightly worrying when you've seen this correction and then a bounce back that is really quick, because it feels like almost like the other shoe hasn't dropped yet. Normally there is a reversal, and if it's a correction that is real, then you see that it takes some time at least to come back up to recent highs. But look at this. I'm just going to zoom that in for you. Look at, in a short time, I mean, if you went on holiday last month and missed all the action, you might have come back to your desk thinking everything's still hunky-dory, right? We're still back here. Am I not right, Jack?
Yeah, you're right. I'm just thinking I want a holiday that long.
Yeah, you do. We'll get that here at IG. Trader friends, if you have comments, please put them through. What are your thoughts on European equities? I'm taking a look at the Germany 40 here, just because it's one that I watch very often. And I'm just putting a horizontal line there as well. So the horizontal line there shows you the most recent highs, and can you see that we're now, there's almost a touch there. There was a resistance around March. We had a second try around the 18th of March, and then after that, correction there, we now have this third try here. If we fail on the third and we fail to break through and just golden line there, that is potentially going to see further downside towards a level seen sort of early April. Because this goes back to trading psychology, which you hear Issa talk about a lot. You have the first phase, which is, usually the exuberance, then it comes back and then fails, and a second wave attempts to bring it through resistance again, and then a third, and the third is when exhaustion sets in, potentially, and it fails to break through, then we see it sell. So this is potentially a short. I'm watching this right now to see whether this is a shorting opportunity. Does that make sense, Jack? Trader
No,
friends,
definitely makes sense.
Let me know if that's clear as mud. Going on to your next question, and this is one I wanted to ask you about as well. Can you explain to us the skew to the upside for the options in terms of the futures? Because it doesn't look like there is much relief in the short term.
So futures, you mean? We'll just talk S&P and Europe. So we'll see. I'll have a look now. Actually, I can see through different ones. So on the daily side of things.
Should we start with S&P?
Yeah, S&P's the best market to go off.
Okay, here we are.
Yeah, so you'll see there, it's a pretty standard picture. There's not a lot going on today, or not a lot forecasted to go on today.
We're now back at 25.
Yeah, 25 is probably bog standard at the moment. You'll see that rise through the day, of course, but at the moment it's where we expect to be. Not a lot on the calendar in terms of macro events, and then not a lot expected. Fridays, generally, you get to the evening, and unless there's been a major news story, everything just starts to die off and quieten down. But typically with this skew, you can see there to the downside, it's getting a little bit stronger, and then to the upside, we've got the inverse. So it's coming down as you go higher. It's just what we expect normally. Anything stronger than that is something to keep an eye on. Typically, the one that grows on indices is always the downside skew.
Yeah, so the skew is always normally on the downside, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to get that upside skew, it's sometimes you get a very strong one, but in this, I don't think we're going to get that. going forward. And then might be easier if you pull up just one of the monthly contracts, you'll see the same build up. And as you get to the monthlies, actually,
should we go to June?
Yeah, go to June.
Because that's where
As
it
you
gets
get to the
interesting
monthly,
in the US interest rate space.
yeah.
Here we are. Right.
So in the monthly contracts, as long as I've been on desk, I've not seen a change in pattern. It's always going to be that as you go further down, the volatility increases, and as you go further up, the volatility decreases. What you're looking for in this scenario is the strength of that skew. So if you pick out two intervals and you can see that the volatility is increasing by a bigger amount than it was just the previous week, you'll see that it's started to strengthen, and that should be the thing that signals it to you. On these monthlies, it's always going to have that relationship there where the volatility decreases as you go further down the curve.
Right. That's all the time we have left, right, Phil? Are we? Yeah. Oh my goodness. I was hoping to run through our back test, Jack. Maybe the next time, Jack and I have been back testing how accurate the US 500 or S&P 500 options ladder is in predicting the close. So if you're interested in that, do like and subscribe. And the next time Jack is on, we will run that through with you. Jack, have you subscribed to the new YouTube channel?
Yes, I have.
Brilliant. Yeah. Good job. Right. Maturin, Damo, James Bennett, we'll get to your questions, and Monkey Man as well. In the all sessions with Elliot Harris. And on that note, do stay where you are. We'll also be letting you know, Maturin, if you're talking about where Producer Phil is going on holiday, we'll also give you a heads up to where you might find Producer Phil in the coming week. Hey, welcome back to All Sessions with myself and the one and only Elliot Harris. Right, Elliot, we will be with you in a moment. How are you, mate?
Not so bad, you?
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic, especially when it's, a bit of a risk-on day today. We'll be right back with you. Let me just run through the All Sessions on the winners board. Pinterest up more than 15% there. Lyft as well, those of you that trade the ride sharing space. Lyft up more than 7%. Right, blockchain, MicroStrategy, and many of those. Let's have a look, and it's just rejigged again. So I'm going to refresh my view here, which you can handily do if you click on the change button there. Novo Nordisk also up there by more than 3%. Has to be said, a lot of these drug makers were down earlier on in the week when there were comments coming through that they're more competition was coming online, especially from the likes of AstraZeneca. Right, blockchain, some of the Bitcoin crypto-related names, no surprise there, riding higher. And very quickly on the downside, trader friends, Affirm holdings down 6.2%. RSAX, I should have hung on for a bit on that short. This is the buy now, pay later space. Soundhound also down 4% there after doing quite well, I think, earlier in the week. And also Hims and Hers, Monkey Man, down 0.5%, but it has had a good run recently. Right, Elliot, how are things going with you? It's been one of those crazy weeks.
Not so bad.
But not as crazy as the last 3 weeks when we're all a pale shade of green. Oh, Elliot, have we lost you? Right, we will try and get Elliot back for you. In the meantime, just taking... Elliot, are you back with us? Oh, he's gone again. Whilst we stabilize Elliot's line, I will talk you through some of the other big movers here in terms of the losers list and getting that rejigged for you because it is moving all over the place today. Pfizer down more than 1% as well. Similar story there with the Eli Lilly's and the Novo Nordisk. IonQ, quantum computing, they're down 1%. And also checking down further down the line, Rivian Automotive, American Express also lower there. Right, Elliot, have we got you back now? He has technical issues. Let's go to the YouTube chat because loads of you coming in with questions. Beg your pardon, I didn't see that Phil had already revealed where he is going. Yes, I've been to Menorca. It's the wonderful, wonderful island of Menorca, which I far prefer to Mallorca. So if any of you are from Mallorca watching, sorry there, but Menorca is so lovely, so clean, and family friendly, great restaurants. Weather though, like many of us have checked for producer Phil, it's a bit changeable. Is that right, Phil? Yeah, the weather's looking a bit shocking for Menorca this time of year. Maturin, would you agree with me? It is looking a bit meh, especially on Thursday. Elliot is going to try and patch again, but let's have a look at my watch list here for you. The Russell 2000, we're going to go to a break really quickly, but just checking in on that for you because the Russell is down slightly, but we have Tesla, all sessions, up 8% there. And also Oracle and Microsoft. Checking in on Alphabet as well because we saw a shocker with Alphabet's shares earlier this week because of that news from Apple. Let's have that on a wider view. It is currently up 0.5%. This is the daily chart, mind you. And that big red bar there was the move lower after Apple said or warned about potential AI and developing its own AI, and whether all this was going to, this implied or suggested to the market, it could unseat Alphabet's Google and take eyeballs away from them and onto the likes of AI searchers like ChatGPT, like Claude. Right, Monkey Man asking me, what's your energy stock watch list, please? Monkey Man, you have really good eyesight. I have really bad eyesight, but you have like eagle eye. If I had to hire a sniper, it would be you. Let's have a look. You want to look at my energy watch list. Is this the one? Let's have a look. So I have oil. Is that what you mean? So I've got oil here, just so that you see what I've got on this list. So I've got Shell and BP because I have holdings in those two, and Total as well, but I've unwound Total already. The Shell and BP, those are dividend plays as well. And also BP is looking particularly weak. If you are trading that short term, remember the rhyme, sell before 5. Sell before 5 is a rhyme there to keep an eye on, sort of in your radar, because other people out there, fund managers, will be looking to offload before 5 as well, and retail investors. So just keep that in view. In terms of elsewhere on my watch list, if you want to look at in terms of power and data centers, because I kind of think that is also kind of linked. We've got GE Vernova, Constellation Energy Corporation, Vistra, Next Era Energy, Oklo as well, and NewScale Power. These are the ones that I like because you tend to find that these stocks, I'm going to widen that out for you. For those of us that don't have as good eyesight as Monkey Man, I certainly don't, Mini Cooper doesn't, these are likely to be the ones that hold up nicely when markets are all in the red. And on that note, we're going to go to a short break, but stay right there because we are going to be right back with Elliot, hopefully. So stay right there. We'll be back after this break. Hey, live from the trade desk with Elliot, this time in the flesh. We have got him in. What he doesn't know is I got producer Phil to crawl under his desk and pull that bloody cable out. So
It's either that or a mouse. Yeah. But,
what happened? We lost you for a bit there.
I was mid-flow, giving you all this fantastic information, and then it just completely froze. So I've sprinted from my desk.
Well, I'm glad to have you.
You've got me in.
Glad, finally. This is what we do for you guys, trader friends. They asked for Elliot in the flesh, and we have delivered you in the flesh here. Right. So take us through your outlook for this week.
Yeah, so no real surprises, to be honest. Trade cut by a 0.25% as expected, as did
Bank of England as
Bank of
expected.
England, exactly. So no real shocks. What has changed is the forward guidance on the Fed. By year end, you're looking at roughly 70 basis points that are priced in now. That was slightly more pre-Wednesday. July is probably, that's when I think we're going to see the next cut, the end of July. Roughly, I think about 18
You think July?
basis points.
You don't think June?
June, I think, will come a bit too quick. I think June is now looking like roughly a 90% chance we don't cut.
Let's have a look
So,
at June.
bring
Here
up the
we go.
Fed?
Yeah, here we are, the Fed Watch tool. Here is the outlook for June. And then let's have a quick crossover to July there. That's the July picture. And then
Yeah, I look at a slightly different view. So I look at the probability. If you click
here we
on
are.
the ones
Yep.
below.
here we are.
Okay, that's doing it in terms of that chart. Yeah.
Let's have a look at
I don't know why you're getting
June
the
then.
chart to me. I don't get I just get a single line. But yeah, it's basically a 52% chance of a 25% basis cut and roughly 10% chance of a 50, which I think would feel slightly heavy-handed.
Unless things really deteriorate.
Yeah, they need to see something start to weaken in the labour market, which, as I said, we're not starting to see yet.
I know, right? I mean, the US labour market is just so robust. We talk about this
It's resilient.
all the
It is,
time. It is
exactly.
so
Yep,
resilient.
yep.
The number of times I've been on a flight, right? And I meet someone who's like, yeah, and they're like Californian accent. Yeah, I unwound my, all my shares and now I can't do the accent. And, and then I'm now working out of Bali. I'm going to stay there for a month. But I'm kind of thinking, great, but, how long can you do this for?
Yeah.
We talked about this, post-COVID, and then we had that December tech boom, and then we had that wave of redundancies in the tech sector, Silicon Valley, etc. And everyone's like, yeah, but it'll take a while. These people are on big payouts,
Yep, absolutely.
right? But can't last forever.
Can't last
Then you
forever.
had Doge, right?
Yep.
Early this year. That too can't last forever if you put your hand up. Did you hear the story? Apparently the Elon Musk, his efficiency drive went as far as anyone in those governmental agencies that wanted to resign and wanted to see what the package was. They didn't have to fill in a resignation. It's just like in the subject line, they all they had to say was redundancy send or something to that, just one word, and then it would spew out how much you would get, how many days you have left your last day.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's pretty brutal.
that's brutal. But for those who want to get it going
Yeah.
on both sides, efficient, right?
It speeds things up, that's for sure.
Yeah. So and also we're seeing some pressure on the consumption, but not major.
Yep.
So let's talk about that from the perspective of gold.
Yeah, so gold's obviously been very strong. Surpassed, I think during the week closed at 3,400, which was a new high again. Come off slightly, roughly $3,300 now. For me, feels like a little bit of profit taking. During the craziness that we saw during April and during the tariff frenzy, if you like, gold felt like went back to its traditional safe haven. Everyone dived into it. Now that we're kind of, you would hope, past peak tariff pain, I think people are beginning to let go of some of their holdings there. I read that in terms of the physical quantities, we've roughly seen during April, I think something like 15 million ounces is traditional US holding on US shores. That actually spiked to 45 million. I think the holding now is probably down around about 35. So we're beginning to see some of the physical back into the UK, back into Europe. So I think that's explaining why we have come off the highs. Just to speak about vol very quickly, 3 months gold vol. If you get up on the chart,
Here we are.
let's go commodities.
Here we are.
Furthest out is October, expiring the end of September. Vol here just shy of 20%. Now, that's pretty much not far off the highs that we saw around Liberation Day. So for me, we've still got a little bit of room for that to ease. We've started to see on desk over the last couple of weeks some decent selling of gold vol, which has slightly come as a surprise. Historically, clients have always bought gold options, generally bought deep out of the money call, so clients have done very well. But beginning to see some selling now because that vol does feel particularly rich.
Yeah, and also the mood music that we're hearing on the tariff front. Do you think it's a lot to do with the fact that we've now got this? No one has any detail yet, like Jack was saying, and we were talking about this earlier this morning with Rich as well. No one has the devil's in the detail, right? But the UK and the US have signed apparently or agreed to something. We've had this coming weekend the talks between US and China in Switzerland, where Besant and Jameson Greer, possibly the hardest name to pronounce ever. Is it Jameson Greer? Greer?
I'm not going to stab at that. I'll leave
Make
that to
it
you.
sound like a type of cheese, Gruyere. If any of you know how to say that name, please let me know. Gruyere. He Lei Feng is easier than the Jameson Greer. Just about. But is that particularly why vol has also come off, and you're now seeing skew potentially to the downside here? If we look at the options.
Medium to long term, I think skewed.
Or is it just froth coming off?
It is a little bit of froth. Yeah. What we saw in April was just frantic. And
yeah, April was like
panicked.
for gold. Yeah, it was just kind of like fundamentals out the window.
And you say about we've got detail in terms of tariffs. I really don't think we have.
We don't.
Is there anything formal that's been signed?
Yeah.
Is there any firm proof?
Apparently, the people are coming this coming week, to then get all the numbers and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, yes, someone wants to be seen that politically, yep, I've done a deal, etc. But is it that great for us? It's been labelled as a a historic trade deal by the US. I think the UK government labelled it slightly differently, but both keen to shout from the rooftops. You kind of drill down into what has actually been agreed. We're still close to. I've worked it out. It's roughly 9% higher. Pre-announcement, if you like. That's taken into account the 10% on car goods, the 0 on steel and aluminium, and 10% on other goods. So we are still fundamentally worse off. What has been disappointing is Europe, Japan, China. They're all keen to stick to their guns, and they want to arrange things on their terms. It feels like the UK here have slightly bent over slightly and just accepted Trump's terms without putting up a great deal of a fight, if you like. The concern is, are other people going to now follow suit? I don't think they will. As you said,
the problem is, we look terrible if they don't follow suit, right? We look like
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You've got the talks expected this weekend.
Trump's little pet.
Exactly. I really don't think we're going to see a great deal. If we go back to 2018, it took roughly 7 months from actually talks beginning to actually any firm action actually being taken. So I don't expect anything to come out of this weekend whatsoever.
Neither do I, actually. And so this is potentially why I think we are going to see, we haven't seen the end of this gold rally. If we see bad news or anything at all, which shows that none of the other trade nations that you were mentioning earlier, right, are going to play ball.
Yeah, we've actually seen it in the FX market as well. FX vols come off quite considerably over the last week or 10 days. Increasingly, mainland dollar yen, we're seeing a diminished gap premium, if you like. So I don't think the market is expecting anything to come this weekend. The market's not expecting any significant change in vol over the next 3 months at least.
Yeah. What should we say, June? Do you want to go out to June?
Yeah, if you go to June.
Here we are, June.
Obviously, dollar yen has been under pressure of late. again, a little bit of a higher risk currency, if you like, but the gamma bump that has been priced in is beginning to flatten, which we've not seen for about 6 weeks. So the vol here is definitely under pressure.
I have this thesis that if we do start getting a snowball effect and we do see more and more deals being done, then we're going to see an unwinding of that rush into safe, currencies like euro and the yen. And so, that's a really good one to keep an eye on. When that happens, it's one you can...
Yeah, so we've already started to see it in gold. Absolutely, I would expect that to follow suit in the FX market. Obviously, the dollar's been hit hard over the last month or so, down about 5% across the board. Feels for me we've gone a little too far, too fast. So I wouldn't be that surprised if we see dollar bounce back over the next week or two.
Yeah. All right, just taking a look at that as well. And, for those of you that are watching the Forex space, do put your questions on the YouTube chat. Producer Phil, just so you know, the screen has gone black in the studio in front of me, so I can't actually see anything. Also, taking a look at some of the other things that you sent me earlier on, are we at a point now, Elliot, where we can go back to a space where we can have trades on over the weekend, or do you think it's still a case of make sure you clear your trades, end of play Friday, because who knows what Sunday tweet might bring?
It's nothing like what we saw even maybe 2 weekends ago. Heading into a weekend during April took a little bit of bravery, because are we going to open up 5%? Are we going to open down 4%?
I've never seen anything like it.
Exactly. So there was a lot of points.
I've seen it like that, but I've never seen it consistently for so many sessions in a row.
Exactly. Yeah. We didn't see that really during COVID, because we didn't have any breaking stories to come.
Yeah.
So it's very different now. As I said, there's a little bit of risk premium still attached to this weekend, but it's nothing like what we saw. So you can certainly head into weekend with a little bit more confidence than you could have done, certainly.
Yeah. And on that note, so we got a few comments coming in through the chat just before we get to Chris. Eric Jones saying, geez, how much does it cost to ship all that gold around? Loads. We will ask that, we'll put that to Chris Beecham for you, because he's waiting in the wings. Eric Jones, I'm with you. He's asking you, how do I get an IG pullover?
You asked me that, didn't you?
I don't even get one. I don't even get one.
This was from a golf day. So
we used to sponsor golf, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And polo.
Polo.
Just very quickly, Steve Davis. Thank you. R. Sachs, Steve Davis hitting the head on the nail. I was talking about BP. There's a rhyme that sell before 5.
Okay.
We will talk to Chris a bit more about that. So if you want to hear more about that rhyme and why you need it kind of at the back of your head when you're trading BP, stay with us. But thank you so much for being with us. Are you going to be wearing that golfing jersey, T-shirt this coming weekend? Are you going to be playing?
No golfing plans this weekend. I had a busy sporting weekend last weekend. I lost my golf on the last hole, but I won my tennis. So
good.
You can't complain. So I'm into the semi-finals.
Nice. Fantastic. Send us some pictures. I'm sure I'd love to see you. Yeah. All right. Stay right there, because Chris Beecham is coming up next.
Cheers.
Cheers. welcome. Chris Beecham joins us here at Trade Live with IG for Number of the Week, otherwise fondly called Number of the Beast here at IG as well. How are you, Chris?
I'm okay, thank you. You?
Happy Friday. We got to this Friday. I've put that number out to our trader friends to see whether they can guess it as well. Currently, the thread is filled with BP and how did they want to know how Elliot Harris got the IG pullover for golf.
Oh, well, they have a knack for picking the important things, shall we say. Everyone likes a bit of swag.
They
Certainly,
do.
I never had an IG pullover. I've got an IG gilet, but it's upstairs somewhere. But
You got
it's
an
old
IG
branding one.
gilet.
Well, I have, but I think it's old branding. But then it's hard to keep up around here with old and new branding. It changes so often.
It is very hard. I got
I get
an
in trouble
IG.
so often for my PowerPoint presentations.
I got an IG Tasty hoodie, but it was triple XL.
They're all very baggy, those things, aren't they?
Right. So you're going to give me a number of the week, which.
Yes. Well, I'm kind of going to give you two numbers.
Okay.
They mean the same thing.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay, so your first number is 19.9%.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to express it differently, it's 5.5 million %. That's not a mistake. 5.5 million %.
Wow. Is this something to do
But they
with?
do mean the same thing.
They do mean the same thing. Is this to do with tariffs?
No. No. No.
Oh dear.
It's away from tariffs. It's away
Bitcoin.
from tariffs. Nope.
Oh my
You're a
goodness.
bit closer with Bitcoin.
Bit closer.
Think about the news from Sunday. Gosh, this must be fun for everybody watching at home.
The number of profitable CFD traders, says Eric Jones.
No. No.
Come on,
I'll
trader
do you give
friends,
up?
help me out here. Warren Buffett's total return per annum and total from Jesse 14.
Yes, very
Well-
good. Very good.
Well done, Jesse 14.
Someone must have Googled that. If you Google that, you
Did
probably
you,
get the CNBC
did you
article.
Google that? Wow, that is amazing for a man who famously said, well, it's in line with what he said. What is it? There's no point predicting rain, or predicting rain doesn't count. Building arcs does.
Yes, exactly. Or his other good one is periodically it rains buckets, and it rains gold, and we like to put out the buckets when it rains gold. That's how he views the stock market.
Yes.
So yes, his total return over the last since 1965, I think it is, when he took over, because he named. The thing about Buffett is he named his company after that textile company he took over that was one of his worst investments.
Yes, and then he
And he stuck with it.
rapidly then made it into this behemoth and investing, from everything.
Yeah.
Untextile orientated. I don't think they own anything textile orientated.
No, I didn't think so. No, exactly.
And
But it just charms everybody with his wisdom and his sort of down to earth approach, because this is a man who doesn't make prognostications about whether there's going to be a recession this year or where the S&P will finish this year. He just quietly invests. And
Yes.
there's obviously the yearly get together in Omaha, and that's
he
it.
always eats in the same steak joint in Omaha as well.
Yeah, he always and he has the same cherry coke, and he plays bridge
hate
every
cherry
evening.
Yeah.
He plays bridge every evening online. So it's just the same thing. It's one office in Omaha. There's none of this fancy, offices in Wall Street, whatever. So you can see why the appeal is there. And he's delivered these long-term returns. His idea for long-term investors, which we talked about before, is the idea of that snowball, which is you reinvest the dividends, you keep compounding, and you allow it just to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the long-term view he's taking here.
Yeah. The other really, really key quote that he had, which I tell my kids as well, is that something along the lines, you're very good at remembering the exact quote. We should get you on our pub quiz, because I often do pub quizzes once a month. I try and do it if I can, and we need someone who can remember all these quotes exactly. But he said, if you don't understand and can't explain to yourself what this company does, then don't invest in it. Like
Wasn't that? Yeah, I think that's him.
Yeah.
If
That
you
was
don't
him,
understand
wasn't
it, you
it?
can't invest in it. I think so.
And R. Saxena coming in on the chat as well. R. Sax, did you guess that number? R. Sax saying he has lived in the same house too, which is interesting. Eric Jones saying Apple was his best trade. It is indeed. And interestingly enough, Eric, I do watch what he does with Apple. I think I'm right in saying earlier this year he brought his holdings down when it comes to Apple. So I was watching that very closely because I wanted to know whether I should put more money into Apple or not. Eric Jones saying Buffett is a leprechaun. He does look a bit like one, doesn't he? Well, Greg Abel is going to be the Berkshire CEO by the end of this year. And we are going to have Issar coming up next to talk about this. Issar, also a huge fan of Warren Buffett. It'd be interesting to see what Greg Abel brings to the table when he takes over as CEO by year end. But thank you for playing. Number of the week. We'll have one each week, so watch out for that. And this week's winner, Jesse 14. Stay right there. We got Issar up next with Week Ahead. Here we are.
Oh, I think we are going to talk about.
Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back. We have Isar in the flesh here,
Hello.
riding in like the cavalry.
Yeah, we were just pre-aligning what we were going to talk about.
And also the fact that I'm so pleased to see you because we've had Wi-Fi
Oh, no.
connection today.
I am like old school in person.
I love old school. I love in person. So it is a big week. Each time I say that to you, Isar,
Like every week.
Every week is a big
Every week
week.
we come here and we're like, oh well, next week is really a big week.
Yeah.
But it has just been non-stop news, right? It's
Non-stop.
absolutely bonkers.
It's great. This is why we do the work that we do.
For sure. I think next week there are both news from the earnings side and from the macro side. So I don't know if we want to whack up the screen. Thank you, producer team. So the week ahead, if I think of next week, if we start with earnings and then we can talk a little bit about US inflation. Oh no, the US has been cut off. That's my bad, viewers.
Is that you or is it producer Phil?
No, it's definitely me. It's supposed to say US inflation. But anyway, right. So if we start with consumer and then we can talk about, oh, there you go.
There we
cut
are.
the space so that it doesn't.
But then we have this no space between.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. I'm sure people at home can work.
We got clever viewers, so.
Yeah, exactly. So we start with US consumer and some of the earnings stuff, and then we talk about inflation because I think we'll also talk about tariffs there, and that could take up the whole segment. So if we start with US consumer, big earnings next week are on Wednesday. You have Target, and on Thursday you have Walmart. Target and Walmart are like the state of the consumer. And so if we are looking at how consumers are doing, I think especially with slightly weaker GDP data, with people worrying about things like tariffs, I think those are going to be really, really interesting earnings, not because the earnings will reflect any of that news, but because their guidance will.
Exactly. So for those two, I'm trading the outlook and also the fact that we're likely to see Walmart, and they have already flagged this, trader friends. So, look it up. If you you can look it up, Google it yourself, that they have to pass these costs on. They can't keep it on their books, for any longer. It's
that margin
hurting.
compression is going to be like pretty extreme. I think the thing that's interesting is if you actually look at a like Target or Walmart, a lot of their, like if you look at Walmart in particular, actually, a lot of their stuff doesn't necessarily come from abroad.
No.
And so it'll be interesting to see how they also shift the mix of products.
Yeah. And what's also key is that we talked about this a lot with Patrick Terminius as well. And we've been crunching numbers on, the way in which this has been changing, especially from the import front here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring up this chart here because you could see that early on when Trump talked about, these tariffs and also the, I'm going to try and enlarge that a bit more for you there. We saw that a lot of the CapEx, capital goods, the more expensive items, the auto parts, we saw a big move by companies to try and stockpile all of that, right? Now we're seeing,
and that, by the way, that stockpiling is exactly what drove the negative GDP number, because those imports and that build up and stockpiling actually counts negatively towards GDP because you're importing.
Exactly. And now we're seeing that mirrored in the consumer space as well. And for those of you trading the retail space, you can take my chart off now. Walmart and Target, and I think Home Depot's out as well.
Yeah,
Have you been to a Home Depot recently?
Not for a while.
When I go,
although we are doing some home stuff, so maybe I should be going. But we've been just buying stuff online from like Screwfix and other places like that.
Nice.
But I guess my question is, have you do you think that Walmart or Target will guide, or do you think they'll just say there's too much uncertainty?
No, I think they'll guide.
You think they will guide?
Yeah,
Do
I
you
think they
they'll
will guide.
And they'll guide below expectations, or?
They'll say the same.
They've historically been pretty consistent in providing guidance.
Yes. And I think that, the concern now amongst many CEOs is if we don't guide and flag this, then the numbers are going to be more of a shock when it comes out. Whereas if they guide...
It's a tough one, though, because it's so uncertain.
It is so uncertain, but the risk of being caught not guiding and not giving some of that bad news. Whereas if they guide it and it's bad and then a deal happens and then they can give good news...
Slightly less
Yeah, that's better for the
So
stock.
you almost want to beat down those expectations now rather than later. That's
Exactly.
interesting. I guess we'll see, but
The reason why I say Home Depot is because all the stuff in there, if you go in, it's just more of it. It's just like exactly like our B&Q. It's the same stuff that's being exported there. They just stick a different label on. Trump has said that he's going to speak to Xi Jinping. And that
they're trying to do a deal.
Yeah, but the thing is,
The question is like, even if there is a deal, will it materially impact tariffs? Like we've had the UK-US deal, but that leaves the 10% tariff.
Yes, yeah.
So like, sure, they're cutting deals, but maybe they're cutting deals that won't actually change the tariff barriers.
Yeah, they just move as a tweak.
They'll do reduction of non-tariff barriers, which is good and it's good for trade, but it's not going to move the dial. I guess if we go back to the slide that we had earlier, so I pulled up 2 other earnings that I find kind of interesting next week. These are less like obviously important from an economic perspective, but they are just interesting to me. So there's Take-Two. Do you know who Take-Two are?
They are games.
Yeah, they're a video game company.
Right?
Yeah, they own 3 big game studios, one of the largest of which is Rockstar Games. Rockstar Games.
Are you a gamer? Are you a
I'm
gamer?
not. But Rockstar Games does produce GTA, and the new GTA game is like one that has been anticipated for an extremely long time. And so I think it's like if I was gonna say like what is one of the biggest video games out there at all, it's probably the upcoming GTA game. And I think if you look at the GTA 6 timeline, they've actually shifted that later. The launch date has been delayed a bit. And so it'll be really interesting to see what Take-Two says in their guidance, if at all, how they're thinking about the demand for that game, because GTA is an enormous franchise, and like gaming in general has been a growing sector for many, many years.
It's the next big wave in terms of revenue generation.
For sure, and like there's so much IP there. You've seen like gaming related movies do really well. The Minecraft movie did pretty well, and so like this GTA game is probably the single largest like blockbuster franchise in a sector that has had like really robust growth. But actually recently, if you're looking at some of these big games, a lot of the big named games haven't been that successful, and so it'll be really interesting to see like the hype and the anticipation of GTA is there, and we'll see if that Grand Theft Auto game like lives up to the hype and whether the company's willing to give guidance.
I mean, looking at shares, it's it's been
you can see the moment they announced GTA 6, which is where it jumped up. Yeah, exactly there.
Yeah.
And then
their biggest competitor is Electronic Arts, right? Is that right?
Yeah, Activision and EA. There are a couple of these big game studios. I think I do think Take-Two is a slightly different type of setup as a company. It's a little bit more innovative. The game and the IP is a bit better. But yeah, you can see EA has not had quite as strong a run as, but it's still not a horrible like couple of months.
I'm hearing several fans in the studio.
Oh really? Are there a lot of GTA fans?
And also Terran saying that Activision is now Microsoft. I believe that's true.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
a lot of Activision fans not happy about that.
That's fascinating.
So, yeah.
You asked them, are they hyped for the new GTA game?
Are you hyped for the new GTA game, people?
Maybe in the chat.
Yeah, maybe in the chat. Put it on there to see whether Trader friends, are you gamers out there? Any gamers out there? Do like and subscribe, and also send us what your favorite game is. The last game I played, which must never be repeated ever again, because I lost 2 weeks of my life and had pizza in my hair and didn't shower.
What was the game?
Predator versus I'm serious. You could be a marine, you could be a predator, you could be the predator, or you could be aliens, right?
That feels like, was that a while ago?
It was a while ago. And then I was taken out of my room because Ange has this addictive personality. She can never, because I lost 2 weeks of my life, you know.
The one that I'm looking at is maybe trying to get the new Nintendo Switch, because I think that looks amazing.
It is amazing.
The demand is super, super high for it. It is quite expensive relative to the previous one.
How much is it now?
I think it's like, they keep changing the price because of the tariffs, but I think it's somewhere like £750, which is quite a lot more than the previous Switch, which was I think £300, £400. Okay, cool. So that's Take-Two. That's one of the interesting ones. The other one that I flagged is Burberry. I don't know if you can pull up the Burberry stuff. Burberry's been trying to do a turnaround for a while now.
Burberry's been slammed the last
It's been a rough period for Burberry. You can see that actually Yeah, wow, look at that. That's absolutely brutal. Look at every candle's red basically since the highs of like of the start of the year. But if you zoom out actually even further, maybe on like the 3-year
Yeah.
3-year time horizon, you can see that Burberry has been
Look at that.
brutally whacked. Yeah, exactly. It's been a really bad period for Burberry. And so they are trying to do a bunch of organizational change, but it's been not the easiest. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of where their earnings land, how they're thinking about guidance. I think we talk a little bit about the K-shaped recovery post-COVID, where you had like basic goods not getting cheaper. And a lot of people really struggling on the lower end of the income scale. But at the same time, you had a lot of people who were kind of buying extreme high-end luxuries, but Burberry didn't benefit from that in the same way that a lot of the other luxury companies did. And so if you look at, for example, Burberry versus LVMH, Burberry has not had as good a time. If you look at Burberry versus some of the watch companies, Burberry's not had a very good time. And so I think looking at what their earnings are going to look like will be really interesting. And also it will show us a different segment of the consumer to your Target and your Walmarts. Like, are these luxury consumers also pulling back in the similar way than what we're starting to see in kind of the core consumer base?
So I have a stake in Hermes because I think in troubled times you stay high, you stay premium, because if you're super rich anyway, this isn't really
I
good.
think we're going to have what my friend calls the Patagonia vest recession, where all the jobs that are lost.
I'm a bit
Well,
I'm optimistic.
it's one of those things where I think if you are super, super well off, sure, you're largely insulated. But if you are someone who's like maybe upper middle class and you're aspirational and you're trying to buy some of these luxury goods, you probably have a lot of exposure to the equity market. You're quite like reliant on whether stock returns are good. You possibly also have a like knowledge sector job that hasn't been hit by technology waves like AI. Like the previous round of digitization and automation didn't really change your job that much, or if anything led to more jobs. Like actually some of those jobs are the ones that are vulnerable.
But then my thesis would align with your friends because I'm talking about, and I check.
You're talking super
Yeah,
luxury.
I'm talking people who fly at least 12 times business, if not first class. You know, buying a 1-bedroom flat, they exist. I've seen them because I get invited. They could look at me and they go, "Oh, would you like to come?"
Yeah.
And actually, I've got no money because my money's all tied up elsewhere. But you know,
are they your like average Hermes buyer, or because it's hard? Yeah.
Not only that, so
Yeah.
they live in Singapore, they live in Malaysia,
Yeah.
they live in Indonesia.
That's true. I could
Yeah.
totally see those growth markets.
They don't even use the stuff that they buy. It stays in that orange box, people.
Yeah.
That Hermes orange, and they have a room in their palatial house where it stays.
It's just stored.
Yeah.
It's just this like a museum.
Guess who the bag donkey is?
Is it you?
It's me.
Trekking it back and forth.
I am tracking it back and forth because like, hey, Ange, what is the price of this right now?
Yeah.
Is an arbitrage trade. I'm like,
Right.
I can tell you right now. Okay, it's more expensive there.
I guess
Can you
the
grab this
question
back?
is, as a holder of someone like Hermes, how do you feel about Burberry as a brand?
I think this is potentially, we don't get those trade deals come through. Don't forget Burberry is in the lower end. Trader friends, if you're trading this space,
It's
bear
not like
in mind,
super high-end luxury.
it's not, and they get hit every single time if the economy is bad. But I do like taking a look at retracement. So whack my chart up there. Can you see those dotted lines there? So Tom Roberts' clients who are big Burberry stakeholders, big fans of Burberry, laughed at me. They called me Burberry Ange. So with this thing at Tasty, so if you
Yeah.
have a losing trade,
Yeah.
you become like Burberry Ange or Copper Tom, or
Yeah.
right? We take the piss out each other. So I sold off at around 1,000, and they laughed at me. Right? You see that mark there?
Yeah.
They laughed at me, and you know, yes, I did miss out on that, but boy.
Wow, it came right back down.
After that, and you know, they were ribbing me all day because we had an IG event at the Banker just down the road here with Tom Roberts. But the dotted lines there, you know, tell me one of two things. And I don't know whether you use Fib. Do you use Fibonacci?
No.
So what we look for are retracements, and right now we are at that juncture where it could cross above, but I don't think the economic environment is good enough for all those tourists to be flying everywhere, because a lot of the Burberry stuff is bought by tourists, and interestingly enough, by Chinese tourists. right?
Interesting.
Overseas, you go
Which
to
I guess
Cambridge.
with the like tariffs and
Yeah.
the friction with the US, maybe you're going to see less travel, right?
Yeah, and then like if you go to Cambridge, don't take my word for it, but just go to Cambridge.
Yeah.
I become the majority there,
Oh,
right? Producer Phil and Rich become the minority there.
Right, yeah.
And they're all tourists, they're all studying there, etc. If we see a climb towards the next level, then potentially there's always a retest, right? We always like to see a retest before it breaks through.
Is that not what we just had?
Currently, I'm not sure. It didn't kind of, I want to safer, but later, but safer is I want to see it, at least 3 closes above. This is the daily chart. Some people are more, are braver or more comfortable with risk.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've heard of people going, oh, once it crosses the line, and or someone's like, oh, one daily close above.
Yeah.
I like 3 daily closes just because I'm the safer but later.
Yeah.
Play.
I guess,
but Kering is the other one. Not Kering. Kering also gets hit on the lower end.
Yeah.
But Richemont, if you're trading Hermes and you want to stay on the higher end, Richemont. So
How do you know all of these brands, Ange? I feel
have
like,
a
I feel
lot
like
of-
you live in a different world to it.
I have a lot of friends who fly back and forth who
Yeah.
have rooms in their houses. So every 3 to 4 years they get a valuer.
Yeah.
And in Southeast Asia, there's a very, very strong second-hand. They don't even call it second-hand because it's never been used in a box.
Right.
They resell it
Yeah.
fresh in the box, never been touched. Might
Do you think
come
there's a chance that some of these tariffs might even make some of these goods cheaper? Because like you can't export them to the US anymore, so maybe you just dump them to places like the UK or
No, because that is a false, what they call erosion of brand. So it's the same as like, why is it when times are tough in the UK housing market, why is it you don't see apartments going for sale cheaper?
Yeah, it's because people don't want to sell at that price,
No.
right?
A, they don't want to sell.
Yeah.
And also B, if you know the industry well enough,
Yeah.
every developer would be tapping each other, major developer, not talking small ones. And actually Canary Wharf, most developers are Chinese.
Right.
They'll all go, hey, we'll sit for, in a room together. We're not letting go of anything.
Tacit collusion.
And
I mean, that doesn't sound so tacit, actually. Maybe just price collusion.
under this pressure. Not supposed to do it, but
Of course, you're not supposed to do it.
yeah, but it
Super illegal.
happens. Why does US tariffs have to do with UK?
Well, I guess that's kind of what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
I think the other piece is like Burberry has historically been not that willing to have differentiated prices globally, and so if the US prices go up, they're likely to bring up other prices with it.
Exactly.
Even if that means, as Burberry has in the past, like burning unsold supply,
Yeah.
because they're not really willing to sell it at a discount.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that one would be interesting. We've only got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah.
The last thing to talk about is macro. So US inflation is the big stuff for next week.
Exactly. Big consumer. Let's whack up the screen again.
So
CPI.
we've got CPI on Tuesday, we've got PPI on Wednesday, and then on Thursday we have we also have also on Wednesday. Oh no, yeah, on Thursday, sorry. We have the Michigan inflation expectations. So I actually, of all of these, I'm not looking at CPI that closely next week. I'm looking at PPI and inflation expectations.
Are you not looking at CPI SR because you don't think that any of that impact will have truly come through?
It's just too early. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just too early.
Yeah.
And I think like if it is coming through, it's right at the start of the tariff period, so it's all a bit noisy. Whereas I think PPI will have better data on like what are the actual input costs that companies are facing, and I think inflation expectations will tell you a lot about what the consumer is feeling about the future. And actually, if you think back to the Fed presser we had this week, there was a lot of talk around expectations and whether they're anchored or not. And actually, there were a lot of worries that maybe expectations might become unanchored if you have a period, even temporarily, of higher prices. And so I think those are the areas that I'm looking at. I think CPI will be a bit of a non-event, or like the signal to noise ratio will be bad. But I actually weirdly think that, unlike normal, PPI and expectations are more of what I'm looking at. So that's it from a macro side. Did you have any views more generally on tariffs and on trade deals? Are you expecting this weekend to be a million deals being cut by the US, or?
No, I think it's going to be a bit of a disappointment that we've met, we've talked, we
Trump
will.
said buy the market though.
I know,
Which is kind of nuts.
I know. Yeah, Rich was I think playing paddle ball or something yesterday when that happened.
Yeah.
I was kind of like waiting outside school gates,
Yeah.
going, what did he just say?
He just said buy stocks, and then you know what? Stocks went up.
I know, and I was like, did he just say that? Did he just say that?
Yeah,
Right.
you have the president of the US basically pumping markets. Which
Yeah.
is ludicrous.
And openly,
Yeah,
right? Openly
yeah.
doing it well. Yeah. Now I'm just gonna whack up this chart because having a look at the trade surpluses, we were talking about that because we had Elliot, and Elliot saying it's going to be interesting if they don't cut a deal and the rest.
This is the services balance. So I think
Yes.
when we're thinking about tariffs primarily impact goods.
Yes,
But you think? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I think at some point we're going to also watch the Eye of Sauron, right? Move on to the rest of services. If we can't get those deals on tariffs, like we've seen, now he said that he's going to move the crosshairs to pharmaceuticals. Been watching that for a long time, and also the fact that he's dangled this carrot about some Middle East deal. I don't know whether anything has come out. Trader friends, have you seen any details on that?
He wants to keep the oil
Yeah.
price low, so I'm not super surprised at that.
Yeah.
And if you look at this, you have a large services imbalance with Europe, which I don't know what the situation is going to be on trade deals, but Europe is not known for moving particularly quickly or in an agile way. So I don't think we're likely to see a Europe deal immediately. You can see quite a large imbalance with APAC, especially in the last couple of years. I suspect a lot of that is like tech services. And then the other one across all of these is travel and tourism. So actually, if tourists come into the US and visit, that actually counts as an export of tourism services, which is all a bit confusing because of the way that GDP accounting works. But you've seen flight data absolutely plummet since Trump's come in. And so I think we are reasonable to assume that some of the services exports in tourism are likely to fall in the kind of like post-tariff era, even if it's not being tariffed.
This is interesting, Issa, because our sats and many on the chat are asking whether or not now is a good time to start buying travel stocks with the view that with lower oil prices, eventually that will kick in. Earlier on in the year, when the whole after the inauguration, we said, or my humble view is no, not yet. This is early on in the year because the mood music was still. It's going to be a tough economic environment, and even though oil prices are low, you're still going to see airlines potentially have.
I mean, oil prices are very low, though.
Yeah, they are, right? Let's have a look. I mean, I'm like thinking, maybe. 50,
maybe this is the last one, and then we have to let people go for that.
Yeah, maybe 50 might not be very far off. I mean,
it is kind of crazy.
60 now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of have a weird feeling that we're maybe near a local low in oil. But
You think so? Even though the Saudis have said we can, or reportedly said we can stay lower for longer?
I mean, yeah, but I think it's starting to hurt the US production, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, right. So, okay, recap for the week ahead. We have some really interesting consumer earnings, Target and Walmart being primary there, but also maybe Burberry and Home Depot, or the other one that I think is maybe interesting is John Deere. Then you've got some other really interesting earnings, like I think Take-Two is going to be one of the most interesting earnings of the week. And then from a macro side, obviously everyone's talking about tariffs, but also US inflation, CPI, PPI, and Michigan expectations.
Monkey Man says he's a Halo kind of guy.
Oh, I used to love Halo. Halo was amazing.
And just quickly, gift for those of you that trade the space, and of course, as Issa and I head off to do our stock shopping, Barclays downgrading and saying the Burberry Kering recovery still more at risk against this backdrop, so keeping its underweight. Hermes and Richemont, both
Okay. We're gonna maybe end the show there then, because otherwise
still can't get on the flight.
Exactly, our production team is going to be
Menorca.
furious. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Let's hope for not too crazy a weekend.
Yeah. And we'll see you early on Monday.